Part 6. Fighting against Satan. Treatment of harmful psychological addictions. From the beginning of time, Satan has tempted Eve, Adam's wife, in the Garden of Eden with very tasty apples that were not yet fit for eating. So where is located Satan now? Once upon a time, in childhood, stories circulated among children about various fears that supposedly came from Satan. Now no one is afraid of anything. So where has Satan gone? There is a kind of psychological center in a person which is called the ego. The ego uses only its own experience. It easily remembers the joy that the soul sends it. The ego gets pleasure from this. The mechanism of the ego perceives and remembers such a state and requires its regular repetition. This psychological center of the ego easily assimilates and remembers excessive signals of joy that arise from excesses. Psychological dependence arises. It is in the ego of man that Satan has entered and is trying to tempt him. Such harmful factors can be excessive in nutrition, alcohol consumption, smoking, drugs, psychological disorders, and other addictions. A harmfully developed ego can be considered as a kind of monster that grows in the psychological apparatus of man. It can be called an enemy, evil, a satanic force, etc. The harmful ego grows throughout life if you do not constantly fight against it. All the evil in the world that comes from a man is ultimately a consequence of the action of such ego center. Deception, wars, genocide, terrorism, crimes, drug addictions are all a consequence of the action of Satan, who acts through the ego of people and then through the people themselves. Many problems face humanity. Satan is happy to sit on these problems and prevent them from being solved. Fighting harmful psychological addiction is also fighting Satan. For this purpose, harmful psychological addiction are treated. There are 6 ways to treat them. The first way: individuals who want to recover must at some point be convinced of the harmfulness of the excesses they use. The second way: it is necessary to influence the psychological center of the ego by gradually fading its memory, which was formed in it as a result of long-term harmful influences. This process is quite long. It can be carried out through medication, including sedatives, or by putting the patient into a state of sleep when the disease exacerbates. The psychology of the action of the ego mechanism is published in my blog, Interesting Feature of Human Psychology, the only reason for suicide. Conscience does not obey man. End of title. February 13, 2025. The third way, it is necessary to carry out a repair of the conscience. The patient will be healthy only when the psychological strength of the conscience significantly exceed the psychological strength of the ego. It is necessary to form the conscience in such a way that it establishes a stable image of the enemy in the form of the product or process that has caused the harmful psychological habituation. The process of forming conscience has already been discussed in the above-mentioned blog, and in my blog, Formation of Conscience, Secret of the Formation of Conscience, end of title, published in January 25th, 2026. Let me just remind you that for this you can use also mechanism of hypnosis, the principle of which I published in the blog Secret of Hypnosis, Grigory Makarevich, on May 25th, 2025. Conscience in such cases is especially effectively formed using hypnotic influence. Conscience can also be formed by the person himself, but for this it is necessary that one's own beliefs are clearly defined and there is a strong fear that can drive these beliefs into the psychological center of conscience. In the case of a neglected illness, the formation of conscience itself is almost impossible. It is especially necessary to beware of the period when the psychological strength of conscience reaches the same strength of the ego and for a certain time remains at approximately the same level. Since during such periods the struggle between them intensifies, as a result of which cases of suicide may occur. The psychological causes of suicide are described in the above-mentioned blog, Interesting Future of Human Psychology, the only reason for suicide. Conscience does not obey a person, end of title, till February 13, 2025. During periods of possible cases suicides, a strong-willed I plays a special role in internal protection against these cases, which will be described in the fourth method. Since the I of sick people is quite weakened, the main way of support in such cases, as well as in the treatment processes, remains external intervention. The second method of smoothing the ego's memory and the third in the aspect of formation new quality of conscience are best carried out in parallel. Only they have a direct relation to medicine. The fourth way, simultaneously with the treatment of harmful psychological addictions, it is necessary to strengthen one's own strong-willed I. It consists in adopting a healthy lifestyle. A sufficiently strong own-willed I will be a guarantee against further possible harmful influences of external mental factors. The fifth way. The Church has a special importance in the formation of ideological guidelines. This means the formation of the pillars of social morality in the organization and maintenance of a healthy lifestyle. The Church can play a significant role in the formation of conscience. Therefore, the importance of the Church should be constantly growing. This is one of the methods of repairing increasingly one's conscience with the help of religion, faith, to forget most of the habits that bring harm. It is necessary to come to church. Gradually, excess, smoking, alcohol, and drugs will begin to cause disgust and hatred. These two gods, which are placed near each of us by God, the soul and conscience, which do not obey us, which we will respect, can defeat our bad habits. But doctors, priests, parents, and our immediate environment should help raise the authority of our gods, make them stronger. Only external influences, external power, conscience, which will be recognized as authorities, can defeat the ego harmful inclinations. It will probably be a long struggle, perhaps with partial defeats, but there is no other way to get out of this painful state on your own. This system can be used to treat not only mental but also physical illnesses. After all, following a regimen and prescription also requires significant psychological efforts. If illusory happiness is not replaced by true love, freedom, and abundance, victory may not last long. Faith and deep knowledge of God will help to overcome diseases, including psychoneurological ones. The law and spirit, which are always near each of us, look at us, control us, will help us get rid of a number of psychological addictions, and together with love, freedom, and abundance will help us establish a healthy and happy flow of life. There is a sixth way to treat harmful psychological addictions, perhaps the most important, which needs to be considered in my next blog. Thank you for your attention to my sixth blog about religion. More to come.